And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
Steven Cypress writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. John, these Newsom stories are only possible because your show is now carried in Central and Northern California, and that's where all the people who knew and know Gavin Newsom lived and worked. These stories are off the chart today.
I don't know why we're so damn sheepish.
It's fantastic. And guess what? We're going to do it over and over and over again because so many people in this listening audience know the truth because they were there. They went to school with them. They worked with the dad. They know the Gettys. They worked with all of these people involved. And we're going to provide an opportunity for them to tell their stories and tell the truth. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the columnist and the founder of the Recall of District Attorney Chesa Boudin. He's also the host of the Really San Francisco podcast. You can get him online at richiegreenberg.org and follow him on X at Greenberg Nation. Richie Greenberg, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. So let's start with the big story in San Francisco, where President Trump said publicly that he was preparing to send the National Guard into San Francisco to clean up the streets, to clean up the open-air drug use, the sale of stolen items, the crime, the homeless encampments, all of it. And he got on the phone with the mayor of San Francisco, the new mayor of San Francisco, Mayor Lurie, and then things changed. Can you explain to us just exactly what happened?
Yes, well, the backstory right before that happened, which was last Thursday or Wednesday night or Thursday morning, was that the one of the most prominent billionaires of San Francisco, his name is Mark Benioff, and he is the founder and owner or CEO of Salesforce, one of those tech companies that's been around for a while. And every year, Salesforce has a annual convention, an expo called Dreamforce. And knowing that San Francisco itself has a problem with the police department understaffing, Mr. Benioff was fearful that there was not going to be enough safety for these 50,000 attendees to his convention. So he reached out. He's trying to find some way to be able to clean up areas of the city, ensure the safety of those people who were going to attend. And he made a public plea. Mr. Benioff was actually even interviewed by the Wall Street Journal where he said, I want Trump to send in a National Guard. And that set off a whole series of events and protests and pushback and backlash, or whatever word you want to use. And eventually Benioff relented and said, you know what, I don't really need it. We don't really need it. And the expo, the convention went off without a hitch, luckily, but Trump was still pushing forward. And then last Wednesday evening, it came down that Trump spoke with our mayor here, Mayor Lurie, who was told by Trump, we can clean up the city faster, better, stronger than your local government can do. And we have federal laws that can deal with the issues that are so plaguing for a long time, plaguing for years and wasting taxpayers' funds here in the city. And Lurie pushed back and said, please let us have the chance. We're making headway. We want to do it. San Francisco City Hall wants to do this. And Trump said, okay, well, how about you guys have a shot at it then, and we'll just stay tuned and see what you can do. So that's what happened, but the spin afterwards is what has become a comical, just head scratcher, where the local media and City Hall itself, the officials, spun this to be that our mayor here has successfully fended off Trump and the Trump administration.
Do we know if Mayor Lurie is going to make any changes to, let's say, the budget, where he's going to say, okay, we know the safety ambassadors are a joke, so we're going to eliminate those positions, and we're going to take that money and we're going to give it back to the police department so we have more cops on the beat, because we know that that actually does work.
Well, that it's a great point, but no, there was no indication whatsoever from Mayor Lurie or any of the City Hall administration and leaders that there was going to be any change to the status quo as a result of Trump backing off and not sending in the feds to do their cleanup. There's nothing, except now, as I said, the city is just spinning this to say that we successfully fended off the feds. That's all that was done. There was no local surge of any resources on the ground, anything. And what's really important as well is that I myself and other local activists and advocates are very thankful for those citizen journalists that go around to the hardest hit neighborhoods of our city here, and they continue to photograph and infiltrate with cameras and their cell phones to capture images of the unbelievably horrendous humanitarian disaster of drug dealers and drug addicts slumped over, fentanyl and what have you, sprawled all over the shopping areas of Market Street in downtown San Francisco financial district from dusk till dawn. That has not changed at all, even with this threat from Trump and then the withdrawal of the threat. It is still going on. And there's two things that we know. The first thing is that the drug dealers that are slinging the fentanyl that are killing 2 to 3 people a day here in Francisco, in the most, the hardest hit neighborhoods here, and that the majority of them are what we would call transnational narco terrorists, right? And most of them are from Honduras. And then the second thing we know is that San Francisco, along with the state of California, is a sanctuary city, sanctuary state that is abusing and exploiting this protection to keep the feds off and not go ahead and go after these dealers that we know are illegally here. They are illegal aliens, and yet City Hall is pushing to protect them rather than us.
You mentioned that Lurie is largely being celebrated for keeping the National Guard off the streets of San Francisco. Part of how he did that was acknowledging that San Francisco has a serious problem and that the city has largely failed to deal with it. That is very different from how other big city Democratic mayors have handled these things, where you have people like Karen Bass in Los Angeles, the guy in Chicago, Mayor Johnson, where they say that they have everything under control, that the city is safe enough. And there's going to be crime, there's going to be homelessness in big cities, but we can tolerate the level of crime and homelessness that we're experiencing right now. We don't need any help from the feds. That's a very different position to take than the position that Lurie takes, which is, yeah, we have a lot of problems and we better get our act together.
Well, yes and no. I mean, he said that. This is what came out in the discussion with President Trump. But the reality is, as soon as that, Mayor Lurie had a press conference last Thursday at noon, and immediately after that, other things happened where the City Hall administration was pretty much ignoring what Lurie had just said, and instead spun this whole thing to say that we want the feds out. We do not want any National Guard here. We don't want ICE here, and you're not welcome. And then a reiteration by our city's district attorney, Brooke Jenkins, where this is a little problematic for us, is that she was saying that any of these federal agents that are here, would be here in the city, would be arrested if they did anything that broke local city law. And that set off another whole bunch of controversies, which was responded to by Todd Blanche, who is the U.S. Deputy Attorney General working under Pam Bondi, to tell local DA Brooke Jenkins and Nancy Pelosi and Attorney General Rob Bonta from California, and even Gavin Newsom himself, those four mentioned in a letter saying, do not threaten our federal agents because we have supremacy and you will be prosecuted. So that's the problem that we're having now, is that it's a tit for tat, back and forth, and the messaging from Mayor Lurie is kind of being sidelined and buried. And what has taken the place instead is saying, we're a sanctuary city and don't screw with us, and then the back and forth by the feds.
It's politics 101 to understand that in a federalist system, the feds have the ability to go into the states and enforce federal law. That's something that's not new. That's been around since the beginning of the Republic. And Nancy Pelosi, as someone who served in Congress for a long time, and Brooke Jenkins, who has a law degree, and Rob Bonta, who has a law degree, and Gavin Newsom, who's been governor for 2 terms, they know better. What do you think is driving? I know with Gavin, it's his presidential ambitions. But let's take Nancy Pelosi, for example. Do you believe that this was driven by the threat that Scott Wiener now poses to her, where she has a credible challenger for the first time since she was elected into the United States Congress back in the 1980s, that has her nervous? And so now she's out there trying to do and say outrageous things to let the left wing of the Democratic Party know that she's still fighting for them?
Yeah, that's part of it. Although, Pelosi, as you said, has been around for decades. And so anything that she says, any of the controversies that have come her way, this has been her position for a long time. The idea of sanctuary city has been here in San Francisco for decades as well, and it has been reaffirmed over years. But in my opinion, and lots of us here, we think it's being abused again to protect, to coddle, and to provide as a shield from those who really shouldn't even be on the streets, those who are the drug dealers who are killing on the streets with their fentanyl. And, there's also a lot of spin as well from the Democratic operatives and Newsom and any of those who were able to take the opportunity to spin this, that National Guard, what they would be doing here is basically protecting federal assets, the property and vehicles, and act as a backup protection to any federal agents that might be here, the FBI, DEA, ATF. And so there's that misconception also as what would be the role of the National Guard. But to all of them, all of the farthest left Democratic operatives and elected officials, all that they want to do, including Pelosi, including Scott Wiener, is to label any outside federal intervention or assistance as being the worst of the worst, and we don't want them here no matter what.
Let's shift gears here for a second and talk about that race between Scott Wiener and Nancy Pelosi. It's very rare that an incumbent member of Congress loses, particularly to a member of their own party. Nancy Pelosi is not just any random member of Congress. She's the former Speaker of the House, a very powerful person in Washington, D.C., even though she's not Speaker anymore, maybe the one singularly most responsible for driving Joe Biden out of the presidential race in 2024. Do you think Scott Wiener has a chance at beating her?
Yes, excellent point. And it's a lot of people are asking the same thing. So, Pelosi is 85 years old. And the years have been mixed on how they have they been gentle to her or not, I don't know. But she's become really angry and had told a reporter just a few days ago to shut up on camera. But yes, we have a challenger who is very popular here in San Francisco. Not popular with me, but popular within the Democratic Party, just as Pelosi is. And the interesting thing is that we see Pelosi over the years, each 2 years she has to run again for the seat and in the House of Representatives. She does not debate any opponents, any other candidates running for her seat. She doesn't acknowledge that there are any others. She just goes through the campaign process, and she wins in a landslide, usually in the high 70s to 80% or even higher every election, the general election. So she has not said that she is going to now run again for 2026 next year. And we'll find pretty soon, because she would have to, the deadline to be able to run and to file and all of that. And Weiner already has come out and he's fundraising. We would love to see the two of them debate. We would love to see him and her on stage, where she would have to defend her record against anything that he would come up against. It would be very strange, because we would not normally ever see these two prominent individuals debate each other. So we want to grab our popcorn and watch to see if that even does come to fruition.
What do you think was the impulse for him getting in this race? Because he still has 2 years left on his Senate term before he terms out of the state legislature. Was the feeling that she was going to announce right before the deadline that she wasn't going to run for reelect and try to hand the seat to her daughter, or maybe resign midterm to call a special election where her daughter may have an advantage over other competitors, and maybe she could transfer her money to the daughter so the daughter doesn't have to spend her time raising money now. She can just be the beneficiary of whatever money that Nancy has raised. And he is jumping in this race to say, hey, I know you're going to try to pull a fast one, so I'm going to stop that right now.
That's an excellent analysis. Yes. That all makes sense. That's all what many of us are observing, and we're all thinking that, her age, again, 85 years old. If she runs again after this, then she'll be, 88 in 2028. When he terms out, for sure she won't be there any longer, what our feeling is. But we also have the movement towards Trump, against him. We have the movement of the further and further left-wing Democrats are all trying to gang up against Trump related to the midterms, and they're banking on this happening, that there will be the reclaiming of the Congress by the Democrats. Anyone that can have a strong voice, including Weiner, is going to jump on board. Weiner and Gavin Newsom. Now we hear that Kamala Harris is not ruled out running again in 2028. So they're all repositioning as a chess game to try and take the best advantage of what happens with the voter sentiment.
Richie Greenberg, columnist, founder of The Recall of District Attorney Chesa Boudin, and host of the Really San Francisco podcast. You can get him online at richiegreenberg.org and follow him on X at Greenberg Nation. Richie Greenberg, thanks so much for stopping by.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Like, let's say you want to cover even more of the stuff we've talked about Gavin Newsom over the years.
That is something we are mindful of.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app,
We've leaned in.
iHeart, Spotify,
Pagan Burger.
Search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
So you get the thrust.
You can do a Google on the YouTube.
Accountability.
You can get the KABC app.
What the hell is going on?
You can get the KSFO app.
Google it.
You can get the KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays at 2.
No, I'm not even kidding.
There are so many different ways to listen live to this radio station and download all the podcasts. If Gavin Newsom gave us a podcast review, I would probably say
Feces everywhere. No compassion.
Well, there is a story that recently broke about a California police chief who, Randy, apparently doesn't even live in the state of California.
Thanks to ABC 7's Dan Noyes in the Bay Area, we have found out that the recently appointed police chief of Millbrae actually lives in Idaho, and he converted part of the police building into a bedroom with a cot so he could sleep there during the week.
That doesn't sound very comfortable.
For more, here's ABC 7 in the Bay.
San Mateo County is not a Holiday Inn.
How about a Hampton Inn?
No waffle.
2 bottles of water at check-in if you're diamond.
The president of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors calls for an independent investigation into a complaint that a police chief is allegedly living at the station during workdays and commuting to Idaho when he's off.
That complaint raising important questions about public safety and the proper use of your tax dollars.
The I-Team's Dan Noyes is here with a report you will see only on 7. Dan.
Alma and Larry, when fire inspectors went through the Millbrae police station this week, they found more than they expected.
They found a bedroom.
You may have seen Eamon Allen before. He was spokesperson for the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office until Christina Corpus made him Millbrae police chief.
Okay, so already there's corruption here. If you don't know, Christina Corpus is the recently ousted sheriff of San Mateo County. The voters of San Mateo had to approve a ballot measure to allow the Board of Supervisors to fire her after reports showed all kinds of corruption, including an inappropriate relationship with her chief of staff and changing the locks on the gun lockers.
And this guy has associations with her.
He was appointed to this job by her. He was her spokesperson.
You may have seen Eamon Allen before. He was spokesperson for the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office until Christina Corpus made him Millbrae police chief. The city contracts with the Sheriff's Office for law enforcement services. Then, in June of last year, property records confirmed that Allen bought a house outside Boise, Idaho.
That's one hell of a commute.
What do you fly, Alaska Airlines, to get from Boise to San Francisco?
Maybe Southwest, and you do Boise to Oakland, and then you take the BART in if it's running. BART was down again today.
Sounds fun.
The chief's very long commute raises questions.
Are you living in Idaho? Can a chief really perform for Millbrae if he's living in Idaho?
What you're hearing is Dan Noyes asking this police chief these questions and the police chief not opening his mouth.
Well, maybe he's like Katie Porter and he just enjoys potatoes.
Despite repeated attempts.
Are you living in Idaho? Are you living in Idaho?
Allen would not answer questions about a 646-mile drive to work or the hour and 35-minute flight.
Not able to return to work on short notice in the event of an emergency is ridiculous.
Who do you think you are, Karen Bass?
Maybe what you have to do is you just have to trick him. Excuse me, Mr. Police Chief. Do you cheer for a football team that plays on blue AstroTurf?
Former San Francisco Police Commander Rich Correa tells the I-Team, any police chief needs to be able to respond quickly to a high-profile crime, earthquake, or some other disaster, and that there's no substitute for hands-on and eyes-on experience 7 days a week.
There are plenty of jobs you can do remotely. Police chief, I don't think, is supposed to be one of those.
You know what's funny? Not only during the LA fires was Karen Bass in Africa, but if you go back to the fires in Lahaina, the fire chief was in Colorado. Do you remember that when we had that state legislator on from Hawaii?
Oh, yeah.
You'd want a police chief that's a stakeholder in the community and able to experience the community at a granular level to really understand it and know what's going on, and also to be present on short notice.
Since Allen became Millbrae police chief, photos obtained by the I-Team show the station has added 2 bedrooms.
Why wouldn't they just get him Homewood Suites or something?
Well, because right now this is on the taxpayer's dime.
If you're trying to fly under the radar, turning part of an office into a living space is probably not the way to do it. Maybe it's like a cruise ship cabin and they have someone come in there and they make animals out of towels every day.
What if someone puts an upside-down pineapple on his door?
Well, my guess is someone would come knocking in that department.
Photos obtained by the I-Team show the station has added 2 bedrooms, a single, and a room with 2 mattresses. I asked for a tour of the public facility funded by your tax dollars.
Eamon, I'm allowed to see what's in here. I can't see the mattresses that you have.
See right through the window.
Can you give me a tour?
He wants to see if they were bought by Sit and Sleep or not.
Well, it's a crime if you cut the tags off the mattress. Maybe they were checking for that.
Eamon, I'm allowed to see what's in here. I can't see the mattresses that you have.
See right through the window.
Can you give me a tour?
We're not doing tours right now, Dan. Sorry.
Dan's not going away, dude.
This is so fantastic.
San Mateo County does not get nearly as much attention as what goes on in San Francisco, Alameda, or Santa Clara counties, but there's a whole lot of weird stuff going on there lately.
Police chief is just living in the office.
I wanted to check out a formal complaint from the Millbrae city manager to the county attorney that says Allen uses the police station as bedroom facilities since he now resides in the Boise, Idaho area.
Where do your checks go?
It's not that hard to find out where someone is living. It's like when Adam Schiff claimed that he was living in a one-bedroom condo in Burbank and not the massive house in Maryland where his kids went to school in that district.
In addition, Millbrae's Code of Ethics says no public employee shall use city-owned property for personal need, convenience, or profit. San Mateo County Board of Supervisors President David Canepa is calling for an independent investigation.
If someone is living out of county or out of state, they have to pay for their own lodging, meaning San Mateo County is not a Holiday Inn.
If you're living in an office, where do you shower?
You don't want to know.
You just shower in the sink?
There's a term for that, but this is a family show, and I'm not going to say it.
Canepa has no issue supplying beds for officers who work a night shift and may have court the next day, for example. But he sees a distinction.
We need to see, was someone living in there permanently?
This has so many flashes of this industry. Multiple times, I have worked with people that were secretly living at radio stations.
Not this one.
Yes, there was one guy who was living here when we were at the other building.
Seriously?
Yes.
You'll have to tell me off air who it was.
I don't remember his name, but I do remember the story. There's not a lot of people paying attention to who was doing overnight weekend board hopping when that was still a job.
We need to see, was someone living in there permanently? These are taxpayer dollars, and so we need to make sure that what's taking place in those facilities really is for the good of the taxpayer. That means people aren't living.
Do you think the chief has one of the deputies do a wake-up call?
Who's doing his laundry?
People aren't living there.
This is a city-owned building. Millbrae officials tell me Eamon Allen didn't get permission before installing those mattresses. He didn't get a permit, and that he changed the locks on the building.
Why would he do that, I wonder?
Because he doesn't want people coming into his living space.
This is my home now.
That way, public works and building maintenance teams can't get access. And one city official tells me that's an extreme health safety risk. A fire inspector came to the police station on Tuesday of this week, but couldn't access that double bedroom because it was locked with an in-use sign. He entered the other...
In use? What is it, an airplane lavatory?
It's got one of those deadbolt locks that switches from red to green.
He entered the other bedroom and noted a lack of fire-resistant walls or an emergency escape, what the chief building official calls secondary egress.
Secondary egress means having a window. I'm sure you have it in your bedrooms in your home.
So this is an illegal living space by every possible way you can look at it.
And I'm sure he thought no one would bat an eye because half the people in California have turned their garage into an illegal living space. So why not an office?
Could have just gone the simple route and put a little pillow under his desk, but he went all the way.
I'm sure you have it in your bedrooms in your home. So in the case of emergency, you can exit through that window if the door is locked or blocked.
The inspector posted this notice of correction on the police station entrance saying, "Please stop using rooms for sleeping."
Good luck getting the police chief to do that. Who are you going to call if they don't?
And indicating Chief Allen has to get permits, modify construction, and pass inspection if he wants sleeping quarters there. The inspector also took a picture of a shelf in the bedroom with what appears to be a half-gallon of liquor.
So he's not only drinking on the job, he's drinking from Costco.
It's got that big old handle of Kirkland vodka.
That would be a violation of both city and county policy. I also found 6 sergeants in the sheriff's office who live out of state.
What is going on in this department?
Apparently no one wants to live there.
I also found 6 sergeants in the sheriff's office who live out of state.
I mean, I know the cost of living in the Bay Area is insane, but if you're commuting from another state, that's an issue.
Maybe they're residents of other states and they avoid paying California taxes.
I also found 6 sergeants in the sheriff's office who live out of state in Idaho, Nevada, Texas, and Tennessee.
Okay, that's one hell of a commute.
You got to change planes for that one.
2 of them work on the bomb squad where they made almost $600,000 in pay and benefits last year.
No, there's some straight up corruption going on here.
Well, do not forget, and I don't remember which year this happened, but it did happen. At one point in time, back when Northwest Airlines was still an airline and was not part of Delta, the state of Minnesota, the controller's office, went to Northwest Airlines and they said, we want a list of every single one of your pilots that declares North Dakota residency. And Northwest Airlines gave them a list of pilots, and the state of Minnesota investigated each and every one of them. And if they determined that the person wasn't actually living in North Dakota, they put them in prison.
They're supposed to respond to a bomb threat within 1 hour. No way that's happening.
Hey, buddy, we got a bomb. Okay, just let me check my schedule here. All right, I got to go Memphis to Phoenix, and then I got to go Phoenix to San Francisco. I'll see you tomorrow.
In the meantime, I'll be at the Admirals Club.
They're supposed to respond to a bomb threat within 1 hour. No way that's happening if they're in Tennessee. Larry Ama.
No.
So, Dan, what are the consequences here? Because obviously this is not just a one-off if you've heard about other cases with similar arrangements.
You know, this whole county is kind of in disarray now with what's happening with the sheriff. So they are looking into it. We'll see if someone actually does something.
Okay, Dan, we know you'll be on it. Thank you so much.
The investigative reporters at ABC7 in the Bay are some of the best. Dan Noyes is top of his class, and every time he looks into something, it is just complete insanity going on in the Bay.
And this is part of the reason why it costs so much to live here. If you're paying these people $600,000 a year and they're not even here to do their job, what are you paying for? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Kevin writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. I bet you the bottle of liquor at the Chief of Millbray's shelf in the bedroom in the police station had 3 X's stamped on it. Also, this guy is surely showering at the nearby Y.
And a number of people emailed us telling us what it's called if you shower in the sink.
This is a family show. We're not going to use that kind of language.
Let's go to Bill in Santa Rosa. Bill, hello.
Hi, John. Hi, Randy. I feel like I know you guys. I spend so much time with you. But last week you had asked about some input on Proposition 50, ratio of yeses and nos. And I've been watching, well, I watch YouTube TV, but there's some imbalance there. But where it really shows is on YouTube itself. I've been watching YouTube on TV, and I would say there's 4-1 yeses with Obama, and maybe 1 with Schwarzenegger every couple hours. It's amazingly lopsided. It's horrible. And I know you're going to do a presentation. You said, tomorrow? And I just thought you might want that input.
I'm doing it tonight in Anaheim at a No on 50 rally.
Right.
And what you just described is what I've experienced too. On this program, let's just take this program, for example. People complain to me that they hear yes on Prop 50 ads. And they say, why are those ads on your airwaves and there's no on Prop 50 ads? And my answer is the yes on Prop 50 side is buying the inventory. The no on Prop 50 side isn't buying it. And it's not just this program. Let's just say that for whatever reason, they don't want to buy this show or they don't want to buy radio in general or whatever the case may be. Fine. Buy something. I've been spending a lot of time watching baseball playoffs lately. I don't see any no on 50 ads. I've been watching the NFL. I don't see any no on 50 ads. I watch some trash reality TV. I don't see no on 50 ads. I watch a lot of my gambling influencers on YouTube. I don't see no on 50 ads. All I see is yes on 50. I got one piece in the mail from the California Republican Party, and that has been it. I have not seen a no on 50 ad. And usually it's because they don't raise any money. People like Brian Dolly and John Cox, they don't have money to spend. They raised $80 million to fight this thing, and I've seen no evidence that they're spending it in any real way. And if you look at turnout, the turnout is reflective of no money being spent on the no side.
Well, the thing, too, that is Obama's closing cocky comment is this is the way to stop Trump in his tracks. That's the closing comment.
Yeah, their entire argument is Orange Man bad because what they're actually saying is in order to save democracy, you have to let us fix elections.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, I thought you'd want to know that, and thank you for taking time to talk with me.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Richard in San Jose. Richard, you have about 30 seconds. Go.
Hey, real quick, the Newsom deal for the house in Fair Oaks, he was gifted the house. He closed 2 days before escrow with an LLC that was owned by the wife and then bought the house in Tiburon. Boy, there was some real shady stuff going on, which was amazing from such a, golly gee type of kid,
Oh, yeah. The poor kid who had to raise himself, who had to hustle, had to do all the things that impoverished kids have to do to just get by. Boy, what a stroke of luck for Gavin Newsom. All right. Thank you for the call, sir. We've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show. Mark Danziger, the armed liberal, joins us next. Don't you go anywhere.